First of all, Congressman, great to have you here. Let's start with Van Crack. This is outrageous, and what is also outrageous is a federal judge who is not obviously managing the case before him and not apparently real interested in speedy justice for a man who is clearly now innocent and who was framed by the federal government, for crying out loud.
Lou, would you expect nearly anything else out of the Mueller investigation and these folks that we've been talking about now for a long time? This is simply taking and putting to reality what you, I, and many others have been talking about for a long time. Devin sounded the alarm on this a long time ago. This was a problem in which you had a group in the Obama-Biden administration and the FBI, the DOJ, that thought it was their job to police what everybody else was going to vote for. They attacked the candidate, and then they attacked the president as he was transitioning. And Jim Comey is just despicable in the sense that he has admitted it all. But this is the problem. And look, remember also, I've signed on to this letter to release these other 53 transcripts, but I was the one last year that released all the transcripts from the House and House Oversight and House Judiciary Committee that did this, that they began to open this up as we go forward.
You know, as I look at this, I'm watching a federal judge who had at one time a good reputation. What he has done to General Flynn is without excuse. We know the facts. We have seen the facts as a result of Judicial Watch, as a result of litigation, the defense attorney's efforts, in this case, Sidney Powell. And without them, we wouldn't know what the hell was going on. And General Flynn himself, I don't believe, knew what was going on. His previous defense attorneys, they looked like Keystone cops without any concept of what they were doing or whether they were doing it at the behest of the deep state. I have no idea. But I do know that justice isn't being served here, and we've got federal judges sitting on cases. We have federal judges making decisions and rulings that make absolutely no sense given just public knowledge of the events and the circumstances and the conduct. What are we to make of this?
Well, we're to make of it that the judge now needs to get off his case, so to speak, and start dealing with this. Sidney Powell and the others that you mentioned have brought this to light. She has taken a case in which everybody was sort of saying this is over, this is dead, except for those of us who are really concerned about what we were seeing in the investigative techniques under Comey and McCabe and Page and Strzok and all of these, the corrupt cabal that's always been there. But now it's been brought to light. This needs to be moved to the front burner. This needs to be moved up, and it needs to be acted upon quickly. And then let's begin, as Attorney General Barr has put U.S. Attorney Jensen in charge of this. Let's get everything out there, and then let's turn our attention to when I believe Mr. Durham, the U.S. Attorney Durham, is going to be coming forward with what should be accountability for all of these involved. We cannot let this sit by. And also, let me say this for the president. We've talked about this before. This goes back to the very heart of the FISA reauthorization issue. The Senate cannot simply just do a reauthorization without dealing with what happened in these cases in which the FBI was taking basically false evidence or lacking evidence and manipulating the FISA court. We cannot let this happen again.
Senator Lindsey Graham, who has promised an investigation of the investigators from the moment he took over as the chair of the Judiciary Committee, has been a joke. He has done nothing. He should have had his committee focusing on exactly those issues because it's within the purview of the Judiciary Committee. It is his responsibility. Instead, he's hunting for the right soundbite, for the right broadcast, and playing games. And by the way, I think some of the most duplicitous and toxic games that could be played while he ignores the reality that this FBI, this Justice Department, and this federal court system, including, of course, and especially the FISA courts, are rancid with incompetence, with political corruption as well. I don't know how many, but I know a good number of them, and they are in critical roles right now, are they not?
They are, and we need. And look, I can speak for what we've done in the House, even from a minority perspective. But when we had to go under the nothing but go after Trump, Nadler, and Schiff, who makes up everything. I mean, he has trouble spelling truth, much less telling it. I mean, we've been fighting for this for a long time, and we couldn't bring them in, but we've been pointing out what's been happening, and others have been taking it and going forward in Judge Flynn's case, and then in the others. It's also important to remember this matters because it could happen to us if they were able to have such an environment to be corrupt on American citizens and to take that out. It could happen to you or I. The most horrible thing about this, though, is one of the most appalling things, besides Comey, who is just a disaster, he's shameful, is McCabe lied to his own colleagues, yet he was part of the plan to hijack and ambush General Flynn, and yet they charged him with lying while McCabe was fired but never charged. This is the problem we've got to deal with, and yes, it needs to be looked at, and we've been trying to do that, and you've been bringing that out as well. But this is something the president has talked about many times. The FISA court has to be redone. We have to put in safeguards, and if we don't do that, we are failing on our job.
Which raises the name of another judge, the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. He is, I just cannot even begin to express my disappointment in the Chief Justice who is responsible for that FISA court. It's appalling. I want to conclude with the letter for the testimony of the 53 witnesses before the committee that should be in the hands of all of you. What do you think will be the outcome here?
Well, we've got to get these things out.
Because some of that information is exculpatory.
I believe so. Well, remember, though, he's still not released all the transcripts from the investigation in the, quote, sham impeachment that he did in the hidden chambers of the Intel Committee. He's still not released one of those, the Inspector General's transcript either. This man is a habitual is what we have found is habitual hider of the truth. He typically does not want to address it, but then he wants to get out and make claims. I mean, remember, this is the same man who said there's corruption in plain sight. Why does anybody believe anything Adam Schiff says? And then now he's holding this back, and now we have all this other evidence that says it's probably exculpatory. It probably doesn't make him look good, which is really basically par for the course for Adam Schiff.
Yeah, he is, I think, far less than that in so many ways. This is the conduct of a criminal, not a U.S. congressman serving the public interest. He is serving something quite different as his master. His values are just so corrupt. To me, it's ineffable of what he has become and what he has done. And by the way, I think the most troubling part about all of this is what he and Pelosi and Schumer and the deep state tried to do to a sitting president of the United States. They weren't running a hoax. They weren't overcome by Trump derangement syndrome. They were trying to overthrow a president of the United States. Congressman Doug Collins, thanks for all you do. We appreciate it. Always good talking with you.